Hi again. My name is Rebel and I'm the Rebel Reseller, and today we're going to be doing the second half of my What Sold video, which will be for the weekend of May 29th through the 31st, so Friday through Sunday. And you had some decent sales across several platforms, so I'm not going to complain. We're just going to keep doing what we can do to get our listing seen. I've got everything on not everything. I've got a lot of my stuff on 3 platforms. I'm working to put most of it more on Whatnot and Depop, and we'll see how it goes, especially as we're heading into fourth quarter. I really, really think it's going to make a big difference come fourth quarter as far as the sales. Let's go ahead and see what sold on the different platforms. First was a sale on Depop. These are ridiculous how Depop titles them. These were 2 plush. I had one, I found the other. They are really hard to sell. They were larger. They just didn't really do as well as I was hoping. So I went ahead and, I put them on Depop, and they sold very, very quickly for an offer of $20.
Depop is, I think, dumb about this, y'all. Up there, this to me is the title, right?
Yeah.
That's where the title should go, but it doesn't go there. On Depop, they take your title that would be on Poshmark and eBay, and they put it as that first part there of what I would consider the description. Yeah. That's just what Depop does.
And if you don't have a brand, in the brand column, when you're setting up everything, it just says stuffed animals. If I had put a brand in this, I think it should have showed up as the real Akuma, but I do not know. Depop's picking up for me because I think I've got maybe close to 1,000 listings on there at this point. And I'm starting to see maybe not daily sales, but I am accepting offers almost daily, but they're kind of like Etsy and the floating offers on eBay. Even though you accept an offer, they don't have to buy it. But pretty much every day I'm seeing some type of activity at this point.
And remember, if you're not promoting on Depop, you can accept a quite a bit lower offer on Depop and still make as much money as you would on eBay because of the fees and any promotions you might be doing on eBay. Here's a little spreadsheet I created so we can compare offers on the different platforms, assuming I've got all the formulas right, and so far it seems like I do. I have the sales tax rate in at 7.53%. That's the national average. Rebel promotes at 8% on eBay. She does not promote on Depop, so those are set over there in the promotion rate. If she were to take sell this at full price on eBay, we can see down below that she would make $16.94 in profit. And if she took a $20 offer on Depop, she would make $18.56. So she would make roughly $1.50 more by selling it for $5 less on Depop because of the way the fee structure is on the 2 different platforms and the promotion rates.
Then on Poshmark, nice sale. These were Shiram hand puppets. I want to say I picked these all up at the bins at some point, and it was a lot of 11, and they sold for $42 on Posh. Mary Meyer puppy dog plush sold for $10. Hand carved wooden ram and goat like statues sold for $14. Build-A-Bear Happy Birthday outfit sold for $9. Corning coffee pot with the starburst on it sold for $15. Vintage Castle bookends sold for $10. And last was these Fisher-Price Loving Family, just miscellaneous pieces and parts of the furniture, sold for $25. And then on Mercari, I have 4 sales. First was this Gund Kohl's teddy bear plush, sold for $9.95. This Disney dinosaur movie hand puppets. This is Crone. It was a McDonald's Happy Meal toy, sold for $6. Play School Busy Choo Choo Train for toddlers sold for $10 offer. And then these Fisher Price Fun with Food salt and pepper shakers sold for $7.50. Not big sales, but a lot of this is old inventory and it's moving. Etsy. I had 3 sales on Etsy. First is this Nutcracker Soldier Teddy Bear Plush. I think this was a relatively quick sale. It sold on Etsy for $20. And then this again was another very quick sale. These are Grumbacher oil pastels. They were used. Set of 24, and they sold for $19.95. And then, y'all, if you can find this in working condition, it has just grown in profit. This is a Sesame Street, Elmo's World flip phone. It talks. I have a video showing that it talks. Although on Etsy, there's no sound in their videos, which is weird. But nevertheless, it sold very quickly for $30. And then on eBay, a lot of bread and butter and then some better. This is Monster Mash and Demon Dance CD lot many years ago. I bought quite a few totes of sealed like Halloween CDs. You know, it's one of those moments you look back, he had a whole yard full, and they were all from like Tower Records, a store shut down. And he had bought all of these CDs, and almost all of them were sealed. And I only bought the Halloween ones. It wasn't something I was, you know, familiar with. And it filled my car anyway. And I think I'm down to like 1 set left. But these 2 sold for $8.96. But it's one of those I wish I'd have just bought it all. All right. These are just little holiday flower picks or gift picks. I'm not quite sure. They were by Beauty Silk. I picked this up at that large estate sale that I went to where I got to do the private pick in the home itself where everything else had been transported to a warehouse. And these sold for $8.96. All right, these next 2 screens is the one buyer. She bought 2 and then she bought another item and I combined shipping and everything on them. But these 2 rabbits sold not for a lot, $13.90. They were a Hallmark rabbit with the straw hat. But again, this had been listed over 5 years. And this little white rabbit by MTY International, also old listing. And then she also bought these little Hallmark white rabbits. I had them listed separately. And then at the end of the year, last year, I made 1 listing because y'all know I'm all about the lots right now. And these 2 sold for $13.25. These were interesting. These were all in a bag that we picked up at the bins. Most of them looked like, you know, these cowgirls that were riding horses. I didn't have the horses. And then there was the one little other girl that just kind of looked like she was like feeding a cow or a horse. I just put them all together and they sold in less than a month for $17.05. Hess, this is one of the Lights and Sounds plush called the My First Hess. I do have a video. And it sold for $26.95. Robert's got to go meet our mail carrier with our packages. So I'll finish the video by myself. But y'all, all of a sudden, I am selling a lot of my vintage Little People. So somewhere along the way, they have picked up popularity. Because I think even in my last video, I had 1 or 2 lots. There was one that I remember having a Western guy. I want to say it sold for a lot. And then there was another airport set that had sold. And then now I've got this set of just 3 of the figures, 2 luggage items, which one of them, like I spoke in the last video, was damaged. And they all sold for $26.95. I think this was a Ben's pickup. Probably not something I'm going to pick up again because it took a long time to sell. But these were the owner manuals for a 2019 Kia Sorento. Sold for $12.78. Barrington Christmas gingerbread plush sold for $13.45. Another set of the vintage Little People. This set of 12 sold for $35.95. And I think I've got one more to share with you. Douglas little black and brown chickens sold for $17.05. Allentown clown jester bear plush, very sweet, sold for $13.45. Well, I'm living here in Allentown. This took like 2 months to sell. I like when I can get, I think there's 3 in the set, but you know, I'll list one. If I find another one, I'd add it to it. But this one sold by itself, a single little IKEA pig plush sold for $9.95. I think I have 2 sets of these. Maybe this was the second set that sold. But these, the brand is JSNY. Plastic little Christmas stocking holders, set of 4, and they sold for $15.25. Quick sell. This one had a little bit of damage on the eye, but still sold less than a month. Fugler, his name was Fuglo, Reek Oath. Green, 3-eyed, shaggy monster, $22.45. Pretty sure I picked up 3 or 4 of these at the Dayton bins. They still are selling quite well for me. Brown squirrel hand puppet. It says standard publishing. Thinking that probably went along with like textbooks for a school. Sold for $17.95. Petting Zoo Recycling Girl plush. Actually, I think she's the zookeeper, but for some reason the AI picked up recycling because I just sold her also, but she had like a giraffe, I think, under her arm. So this is the second one. Sold for $13.45. Thai baby pups. This sells very quickly. And if it had the paper tag, it would have done much better. This one ended up selling for $22.45. And then my best sell of the weekend on eBay was more of these. Now, I picked these up at an estate sale. I bought a yellow house, and it was full of furniture, and then these figures, vehicles, all of that. I just listed the figures themselves. The house was in really rough condition. I bought it for the contents. I haven't even listed the furniture yet. It all needs a good wipe down. The dogs in this are the reason why it sold for $60. They are the straight bodies. A lot of times they have shapes like the figures that you see there, but these were straight bodies, and then that dog in the middle is very difficult to find. But yeah, it sold almost immediately. $60 offer. And then Robert had quite a few sales. His sales are really starting to pick up. He's listing more regularly. And I really do think that that helps a lot. First thing that sold was on Poshmark. These are American Eagle women's jeggings, size 4, sold for $15. And then this Urban Rose red and white striped dress sold for $9.93. Aeropostale women's jean shorts. We are selling the heck out of shorts right now. These sold for $13.21. Old Navy women's boyfriend jeans sold for $10. Toe warmers, women's ankle boots sold for $22. I just saw a reel the other day where it was snowing in like Montana. I can't even imagine. It is in the 80s here. It is so hot and humid. But there's parts of our states that are getting snow. So, you know, winter stuff may still sell even to somebody in the United States, but you know, they sold for $22. And then these Noble Outfitters Hammer Drill Canvas Work Pants sold for $22.21. Right, y'all? I hope you are getting an increase in sales also. You know, just again, do the things that you can do. List regularly, run sales. You know, evaluate your offers anytime you get one, especially if you think it's a low ball. Send out your offers and cross list. I really can't imagine the number of sales that I'm getting now because I am cross listing. It's time for me to get to work. Bye.